Hi everyone, Jeff Barnes with the Wisdom of Walt. Today I'm excited to bring to you a reading of the latest Wisdom of Walt free blog post, The Light at the End of the Tunnels. Hopefully at the end of this reading you'll sign up for the free blog post at thewisdomofwalt.com. Let's go. You know, I've told this story 100 times. In fact, I write about it in the Wisdom of Walt, Chapter 3, Listening to Your Walter Ego. I talk about it in stage in my keynote presentations. It is a core Disney story that you may or may not know. Why, it is the story of Mickey Mouse. It is the story of how the world's most popular and profitable cartoon character came to be created. Walt Disney reminded us repeatedly that we can never lose sight of the fact that it all started with a mouse. Except that it didn't. Why, it started with a rabbit. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. You see, in 1923, after going bankrupt with his first studio, Laugh-O-Gram Studio in Kansas City, Missouri, Walt Disney boarded a train bound for California with $40, a single suitcase, and a one-way ticket. And once he was here in California, Walt joined forces with his older brother Roy, and together they formed the Disney Brothers Studio. And it was then and only then that Walt eventually created his first successful cartoon character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And by 1928, Oswald is so successful that Walt is boarding another train, this time headed to New York City with his wife Lily. Walt wants to sit down with his distributor, Universal, and he is looking for a bigger and better contract. But in that meeting, Walt is reminded that when he signed the distribution deal, he had signed away the rights to Oswald as well. And while he and Lily have been busy in the Big Apple, they have been busy right here in Southern California, hiring away the very animators who had helped make Oswald so successful. Don't you see? Walt didn't walk out of that meeting with a bigger and better contract. No, my friends, Walt Disney walked out with nothing. And he is staring bankruptcy in the face all over again. However, on the train ride home, he remembered a little character who had kept him company during those dark days in Kansas City. And so Walt pulled out a pad of paper. He sketched out the first story. He showed it to Lily. "Honey, what do you think of this guy?" "Why, honey, he's cute." "What are you going to name him?" "Well, I'm thinking of naming him, Mortimer." "Oh, no, Walt, why that name is much too heavy. Why don't you go with Mickey instead?" And so it was in that moment of desperation, that the world's most popular and profitable cartoon character was born. And I think my favorite part of that story is how Walt sent Roy a telegram telling him, "Don't worry, everything is going to be okay." You know, my friends, in this current crisis, I keep going back to this story over and over again. Why? Because I don't know how our current story is going to end. And in times of uncertainty, why, it's good to go back to the familiar. And Walt Disney, he was familiar with failure. And yet, he kept moving his story forward. And guess what? You can too. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, he teaches us that how the story ends is all about choice. You can panic or you can pivot. You can implode, or you can innovate. You can retreat, or you can be resourceful. In my last blog post, The Next Right Thing, I wrote about how Walt Disney, against great odds, survived both the Spanish flu and World War I. And so I want you to imagine for just a moment, what if Walt Disney had survived neither? I mean, imagine a world without Walt Disney. Imagine a world without Mickey Mouse. Because you see, Mickey Mouse made his debut via Steamboat Willie on November 18th, 1928, and he was an overnight sensation. And it was also on the eve of the Great Depression. Less than a year later, the stock market crashed. And it would be more than a dozen years and another world war before the U.S. and world economy would start to recover. And in between, why, it was Mickey Mouse and his indomitable spirit that kept folks going. Everybody was short on money, and yet somehow everyone still found a nickel to see the latest Mickey Mouse cartoon short. And everybody started buying Mickey Mouse watches in 1933, the very height of the Great Depression. And so today, we need Mickey more than ever. We need his indomitable spirit to carry us through this crisis, just like he carried us through the Great Depression. We need his touch, even if it's only a high 4 instead of a high 5. And we need his floral, unmasked smile greeting us at the front of all of the Magic Kingdoms. Why? To remind us that in our own troubled times, this story can end well too. And to reassure us again that everything will be okay. And to point us toward the light at the end of the tunnels and the castle at the end of the street. So again, I want to encourage you, go to thewisdomofwalt.com. Subscribe to the blog. If nothing else, I want you to see the amazing picture that Juliet Oates took of Cinderella Castle on her recent trip to Walt Disney World. Thank you, Juliet, for allowing me to use that amazing photo. And folks, we need that hope. We need Walt's wisdom. We need Mickey Mouse and his indomitable spirit more than ever. Thanks for listening.